This is Murder in the Morning with Tony Bruschi and Stacey Cole.
Oh, Alec Murdaugh. Here's a name we haven't heard in a little while. But as you know, he's trying to take his case to the South Carolina Attorneys General and to the Supreme Court because of the jury tampering allegations. And they're pretty big allegations, whether you like Alec Murdaugh or not. South Carolina Attorney General's office wants more time now to answer Alec Murdaugh's Supreme Court appeal. The Murdaugh team isn't having it, though, in a rare move that flips the courtroom script. It's the defense pressing to move things forward, while the prosecution is asking the highest court in the state to slow it down. On April 3rd, the AG's office asked for a second extension in Murdaugh's appeal process. They're asking for 120 more days, which would push their deadline to respond until August 8th. But Murdaugh's lawyers fired back almost immediately with a simple message: no. Richard Putelin, one of Murdaugh's lead attorneys, didn't mince words. In an email directly to the state's attorneys, he said, "We will not consent." The state's request comes in response to a 121-page appeal filed by Murdaugh's legal team back in December. That appeal is no small document. It accuses former Colleton County Clerk of Court Becky Hill of jury tampering, questions the way evidence was presented, and basically asks the court to take a second look at one of the most widely followed trials in recent memory. The Supreme Court received both motions, the AG's request for time and the defense's refusal, but hasn't yet ruled on either. Murdaugh, the disbarred attorney turned convicted murderer, was sentenced to back-to-back life terms last year for the 2021 shooting death of his wife, Maggie, and son, Paul. He's always denied involvement in the killings. His legal team filed for appeal last December, citing what they claim were serious errors during the trial, including that explosive allegation of jury tampering. Originally, the AG's office had 90 days to respond to the appeal, a deadline they agreed on with the defense, and that gave them until April 10th. But now they want more months, claiming the scope of the case is just too big to tackle in that time. Their reasoning, for starters: the trial transcripts span over 6,000 pages.
Yikes.
And that audio recordings, visual exhibits, the legal briefs, side hearings, and you've got mountains of material to review. The AG's team also says they're dealing with other major cases, including death penalty litigation, and their attorneys are simply stretched thin. But Murdaugh's side isn't buying it. They say this appeal has already been pending far too long. They point out that if the extension is granted, it will have taken the state an entire year to respond to their brief, and they say that they've never heard of that happening in any criminal case, capital or otherwise. That's the words from Murdaugh's attorney. Take them for what they're worth. They also argue that if the Attorney General's office can't keep up with its caseload, they should hire outside help. With 90 attorneys on staff, the defense questions why this one case needs so much extra time. Then there's the most telling part. Murdaugh's lawyers say they believe that the state's case won't hold up on appeal. They argue that dragging this out only delays justice, and that unless the AG's office is hiding some blockbuster argument, the state's trying to stall a process that could ultimately lead to overturning the murder convictions. Let's be clear, even if Murdaugh wins the appeal, it doesn't mean he walks out of prison. He's already pled guilty to a laundry list of financial crimes, millions stolen from clients and colleagues, and those come with their own steep consequences. But overturning the murder convictions would shake up the legacy of a trial that gripped the country, and I think his legacy too. That's what he's looking for, is to not have this one on his record. Now it's up to the South Carolina Supreme Court to decide whether the state deserves more time or if the clock has already run out on Alec Murdaugh. I do not know how long these sort of processes take, other than I know everything takes forever.
It does. And here's the thing, this could become a precedent-setting case. I mean, think about it. He's just a horrible criminal. But if you don't get a fair trial, watch what happens. This is...
Well, it's true in so many cases.
It is. But this one's going to stand out because he clearly is guilty of the financial crimes, stealing from his clients, horrible things. And yet we're going to prop him up and give him a fair trial because he didn't get one. I didn't think we'd be hearing about Alec Murdaugh again, but here we are.
We'll be hearing about Alec Murdaugh for a while because, look, I think he's a horrible human being, obviously, from all the financial crimes and such. At the end of the day, when it comes to the criminal conviction of him for the murder of his family, do I think he probably did it? Yeah. But you had jury tampering going on with Becky Hill, and that is, I don't think, all that questionable. If that happened or not. It did happen the way it was laid out. Did it convince a juror to look a different way at the case or vote not guilty or anything like that? Well, you have one that already says that it did. But the state has said, well, we still don't think that's enough. And then that judge just punted it down the way to here, which is now where it's at with the Supreme Court. And if the Supreme Court denies it, there still are other avenues here. And in the interest of doing everything correctly and holding those accountable who are in these courtrooms who screw things up left and right and got away with it for so long. We need to do this. There needs to be a purge of this type of stuff, and the purge in these small towns where it says, this is the way we do things, and here's how it's going to work. Because it goes on like this far too often, and we see too many cases just get destroyed after people dedicate years of their life to try and fight it, and then some diddly doodah says, I think you should vote this way, or I think you look closer at this, look closer at that, and then throws a book out there and tries to profit off of the case. I mean, narcissism runs wild.
Do we need to have more safeguards in the court system to prevent jury tampering? Do we need to have somebody sitting in and basically babysitting the jury?
That's what the clerk of court was supposed to do. Instead, they're the
she
ones
didn't do it.
They're the ones that went in and tampered. She's the one that went in and tampered.
But yeah,
you have the safeguard doing the deed, doing the tampering in this case.
Yeah, I don't know how you stop that. That was a short-sighted question because my thought was, well, how do you prevent this? Becky, that's how.
Yeah, you got to get rid of the Beckys, and you need to have it more clear. Like people need to be more educated on what this means, what this is. So if the jurors see it going on while it's going on, they can speak up and go, and they should have another outlet to go to other than Becky Hill to state their concerns. I mean, granted, somebody could have raised their hand and gone to the judge right away. But if you don't know you can, or you don't know that you should, you don't know. You don't know what you don't know.
Well, and that's just the thing. How many people have no idea what law is about?
Well, yeah.
I mean, when I went in for my jury selection, I watch a lot of legal shows. I live with an attorney. I hear legal jargon. I thought I knew a few things. I was dumbfounded by the stuff I didn't know. Just in the preliminary, hey, we're going to, go through some questions and things like that. Listening to them talk, it's a different language. We're not exposed to it on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. I don't know how somebody on a jury who has nothing as far as experience in this, how they would recognize anything. You look at these people who walk in with their clipboard and they have the official badge. You take their word for it that they know what they're doing.
And so many people are crossing their T's and dotting their I's. And then you have some over here that are, barely, getting a pencil out and writing a sentence. Yeah. And it's such a stark contrast sometimes. They're just the system needs to have more safeguards to hold itself responsible. And then it turns into something like this where it's like, well, the system screwed up pretty good. The system also has it in its best interest to protect itself as well. And then you start to get into, conspiracy theory or just unjust areas where, well, are they making this decision because they don't want to have to be accountable for screwing up, or are they doing it because it's truly the right thing? I mean, look at the Karen Reed issue right now with they're trying to take it to the Supreme Court of the United States, arguing that, well, we had a unanimous decision here, but we weren't asked about it and we didn't really mark it anywhere. And Judge Cannoni just said, okay, we're done, and never polled the jury. These sort of things are pretty obvious from the outside. I wonder if so many times everybody is too close to the fire in that courtroom, and they know the procedures and how they've been handled in the past, and maybe not everybody is used to the level of scrutiny that some of these major cases get. And so many times, they don't get the scrutiny because there's not the eyeballs on it. There's not the people raising their hands going, this doesn't seem right over here. And they're really being brought to task and called on the carpet for anything that is unjust. It's just, you got to follow the damn rules. And if you don't, you can completely reset a trial, no matter how insignificant you are to a case like Becky Hill.
Yeah.
It's
and imagine if Alec Murdaugh, let's say he didn't do the financial crimes. Let's say this was the only case that he went through. And let's, just for the sake of argument, say that maybe he's innocent. Now he's sitting in jail. Mm-hmm. And this was a corrupt trial. So now we have a citizen of our country that is sitting behind bars and will be for a while. I mean, 6,000 pages of transcripts and exhibits and audio and side hearings and other things that they had going on. That's a lot of material to go through. So he's just basically wasting his life. Now, he is guilty of those other things, but just imagine, apply that to somebody who maybe was innocent, but somebody slanted things. Yeah. And they were deemed guilty, and now they're sitting behind bars. You don't get your life back. You can't step into a Stewie Griffin time machine from Family Guy and go back and get that time back in your life. It's over, It's very disturbing just how many inept, incompetent people are in positions of power that can completely ruin another's life to such an extent with zero accountability. Zero to no accountability. I just got done today going through the police interrogation of Richard Allen. 6 years after he already said, I was there, how can I help? And it is one of the most disturbing hour and a half of video that I've watched as far as an interrogation goes, because the investigation and the interrogation is so off the rails and just completely inept, completely incompetent in how they're doing this interrogation. And Richard Allen is just giving answers like a normal human being. I mean, I've seen many where you can tell somebody's trying to cover something up. Yeah.
This ain't that. This is like, he's almost speaking too much, where they're just, well, you said it could be this, it could be that. And like, yeah, I don't know. It was 6 years ago. I don't remember the exact color of coat I was wearing. Can you tell me what coat you were wearing last Thursday? It's like more or less 6 years ago. They totally railroaded him. But this stuff happens, especially when you have blinders on. I'm not saying they railroaded Alec Murdaugh. I think Murdaugh, had Becky Hill just shut the F up, we won't be having this conversation. I think they would have convicted him, and that would be the end of it. But because someone messed with the rules of the game, got to do it again. That's how it works.
It's going to be expensive too.
It is.
These taxpayers are paying for all of this. It's right out of their pockets.
Yeah. I mean, I say go after Becky Hill. I'm sure she doesn't have the assets to do it, but I'd say bleed her dry until she's, just living under a bridge, if that's what you have to do. Like, we're going to take everything you got. You caused this with your stupidity. We're taking everything, and we're going to throw it in the coffers to handle this again because of your stupidity. I don't know. It's shocking, but we'll see how this goes. I mean, the courts usually have the upper hand. They may be very well granted their extra time. But we shall see. I don't know if it's delaying the inevitable, but I think he's going to get another trial. I really do. I know a lot of people disagree with me and think it's not. I don't think it's too far of a stretch.
I don't think it is either. We have so much evidence that he was not given due process here. I'm sorry, he's probably guilty as shit.
Yeah.
but we have rules about how we prosecute people and how you get a trial in this country. Well, we're supposed to have rules about that.
Sometimes. You kind of spin the
and
wheel.
his were violated. So we need to do right by him.
Yeah.
He may still be guilty, but we need to do right by him.
I completely agree. Tell me what you think in the comments on YouTube. If you're watching the or listening to the podcast, wherever you get podcasts, check out our YouTube channel, Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi, or vice versa. If you're on the YouTube channel and you want to take us on the go at the park, at the beach, during your workday, we're a better variety of true crime stories to pick you up and make you feel good.
There's your radio guy for you.
A better variety. Anyway, do that. Check us out. Press subscribe, and there's more on this case.
Craving non-stop true crime updates? Press subscribe now and get the latest cases, analysis, and expert commentary delivered straight to your feed. Only from the Hidden Killers podcast and True Crime Today. In a world where the darkest secrets lie just beneath the surface.
They said it was an accident, but the evidence says otherwise.
Where hidden killers roam, unnoticed, in the shadows.
I think you would definitely be looking at a blend of toxic, very bad narcissistic personality traits, and they will be vengeful and possibly resort to violence.
Join Tony Bruschi as he uncovers the truth behind the most chilling cases.
They said it was an accident, but the evidence clearly says otherwise.
Each episode, we dig deep into the minds of those who commit the unthinkable.
To your point on narcissism, he thinks in his own mind how witty he is.
Yeah.
But he lost that jury. I was done with him in 2 minutes.
From unsolved mysteries to infamous crimes.
Geez, you've just talked about how you've taught yourself how to do everything under the sun. I bet you did a YouTube video, how to best kill somebody with a knife.
Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi takes you where few dare to go.
How does someone with such a dark secret go unnoticed for so long?
With multiple new episodes every single day.
We're not just telling stories, we're seeking justice.
Listen now on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi.